Okay, in this next video I'm going to show you how to use your 3D forms that you've created. I've got three here, they're all different. Same premise though, it's kind of like a cuboid with a corner cut off, or two corners. Could do three if you fancy getting a bit more complicated. So I'll just say you have maybe 6 or 7 of these. I'm just going to use 3 just to show you what we're going to do. So we're going to create kind of like a cubist sculpture, or it could be a piece of architecture. So these skills will come in useful along the way when you're doing some architecture work or when you're doing some 3D form work. Obviously I've shown you how to create the individual 3D forms. Now what we're going to do is going to combine them together. So you can see what I've done basically is we're going to cut a hole the shape of another 3D form in to the side of the form, and then we're going to combine them together so that they, in fact without glue, they actually kind of tightly lock together, and this creates a really interesting second form. So you're combining forms together and it kind of looks like, obviously this, well it has, this form is integrated with this one. So if you can imagine if you were creating a piece of sculpture or a piece of architecture, this would be a really nice way to do that. So I've done one. Let me just basically explain and then I'll show you with this form here. So I've chosen this form, which is kind of the biggest one. So find your biggest form maybe. I'm going to use that as my kind of base. And I've decided that it's going to stand up like this. Okay, like this obviously, we're looking down. And then I've used this form to play around with, and I've held it on the side and imagined where it would go. And obviously it could be anywhere, but what I've decided to do is kind of follow the angle almost of the top here and have this coming out of the side. So it's difficult to begin with, but you're looking for some kind of balance in a way, although it isn't balanced. But if we look at that as a 2D shape, quite like the fact that this is diagonal, this is vertical. Look at it from this way, from the front. I like the way the shapes combine, and from the back as well. So I like what's happened there. You can obviously not copy me, but you can obviously use that, what I've done, as an example if you're stuck for an idea. So what I did was, all I obviously did was to hold. It's a little bit tricky, but I held that in place there. I drew around it with the pencil, and then with the tri-square, so you're going to need a tri-square, I took the lines from the side here, that line where that line meets the edge of the form, and here, and I used my tri-square, put those on, and then I drew 2 lines, one here and one here, and then with a ruler I then measured along that line, in this case 30mm and 30mm, 2 marks, and then joined that line together. And then finally, obviously, you can see what I did was with the knife, as I cut that out. So if I put that back together, wrong form, there we go. So now I'm going to use this form, so I'm going to do 2. You can obviously, you could do more if you wanted to and create quite a complex series of shapes. I'm going to do one with just these three forms, and I'm going to make it stand up, so it kind of needs to be balanced so that it doesn't fall over. So I've got one form this side, so I'm going to put this form on the other side, and I've decided that I think I quite like, because that's diagonal in that direction, I'm going to put this one diagonal in this direction, and this one's going to go straight right through the box rather than into. Okay, but it's the same premise. So if I take that one off and I just get this shape in the position that I want it to be, which is about there, and then what I'm going to do is draw around it. So make sure the pencil touches the card, otherwise you won't get it. So it's going all the way through there, and you might need a ruler just to go over that so you can see it properly when you cut it. Ooh, and it's a little bit fiddly because of the corrugations of the card. Okay, so that bit I'm going to cut out. So on the back, what you need to do is get a tri-square and put the tri-square against the edge of the card. Now it needs to be against the edge, not tilted, no gaps. You're not doing it like this. That needs to be against that edge, otherwise it's not going to help you at all. And then what I'm doing is I'm looking for where this line touches the edge of my form. I'm then going to hold it in place, it's a bit fiddly, and draw a line coming out of there. And then I'll do this side. Now for the other side I'm going to turn it over. In fact, it's probably best if you have the lines that you've drawn on the side facing towards you. Tri-square on top, thumb and finger, hold it in place, get it in position, and then draw the line. So basically you can see what I'm doing. I'm carrying on that line over the top. Now with this one I need to do the side as well. So a little bit fiddly, but I can manage, should be able to manage. This one's a little bit trickier, so I'm going to come from this direction. I have to hold the box in the air to do that. But you can see what I'm doing there, can't you? Even better from that angle. So tri-square against the edge of the box, carry the lines over. Now it doesn't matter how long those lines are, because now I'm going to use my ruler to measure them. Now if I put that box in, if I cut this out too deep, then this shape will touch or get in the way of the other one. So this one is only going to be quite shallow. You can see what I mean. If I cut into it here, then when I put this one in, this box is going to get in the way. So you need to check that first. So by the looks of it, it's 20 millimeters will be great. 20 millimeters. 20 millimeters. So I'm just putting my ruler on that line and marking off 20 millimeters. Then I'm going to join them up now. This one's a little bit tricky because I've got to go over a corner, but I might have to measure on the corner there, but I'm happy with that. You can see what I've done. And the same here, 20 again. I'm going from the edge of the form, we're not going from the edge of that back piece, so we're going from the edge of the form. Okay, then there we go. Okay, so that's the bit I'll come out. If it helps, you could quickly shade it in so you know what you're going to cut out, so you don't cut out any bits by mistake. And there you go. Last bit is to cut it. Now I can do this without the ruler, but you might want to put the ruler on the top, hold it in position tightly, and use the ruler to cut. Okay, if that helps. I'm going to go in with my knife, lock it in position. I'm going to cut very carefully across where I've marked. You might have to start a little bit of a way in from the edge. Just be careful, because you want that to be a nice straight cut. Now I'm going to cut down here. So now I need to kind of, I'm looking at the edge here. I'm not going to cut down too far like I did there. So I slipped with the knife and gone through, it doesn't matter. In this position you might actually want to hold the knife like a pen. I'm going to go in halfway. So this is a test of your knife skills. Be careful. Okay, and then I've got to do this side as well. So again, just be careful. See, it's very easy to slip. So on this one I'm going to go in from here, and then I'm just going to, there we go. And then here, it might help if you're going from halfway, it seems. So get the knife blade all the way through, then turn it round, and then come back the other way. Okay, now hopefully, there we go, that should come out. I've got my gap, put the knife away. So I've got my gap there. Hopefully, let's put the one in from earlier. And this one should go in this way like that. And there you go, you've got your cubist sculpture stroke architecture. You can imagine that as a building, pretty funky building, but you could imagine that as a structure, a building, or as a piece of sculpture, a sculptural piece. But the skills you're learning here will come in handy later on when you're designing your own sculptural stroke architectural pieces. Like I said, you maybe want 6 or 7 pieces, so you could keep going. So I could do one in here now, and on the next one, you could have another one coming out of the top of this box. I could easily cut that corner off and have one coming out of the top. So it could be one coming out of there, or whichever, whatever you want to do. But make it interesting. Think about where you're going to place them. Don't just randomly place them. Think about it first. Make sure they don't get in the way of each other. Just be careful with the knife and be accurate. And have a go. There you go.